roll
This
call.
conference will now be recorded.
Sign. I missed it. I appreciate it. I like all, it needs to say Captain Chaos instead of Chaos Creators. That way you can judge whichever way you want to go. Okay. So,
Amalia, did you do that? Where'd she go?
no, she ran off. Hide in the corner. Lost my brain on here. Anyway, so we'll note the members present, and I need a motion for approval of the agenda, please.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion. Any comments? Hearing none. Any negatives? Passes unanimously. Now, let's get right into it, and we're going to talk about a rip liner at the trash facility.
Committee Chair, committee members, thank you for your time. 2023 905A was destroyed. So in an effort to get it repaired, get it back to its original state, we contracted SMA for $87,259.29 with GRT in order to make the appropriate the engineering firm. Funds from cash on hand were used and reimbursed by the New Mexico Self-Insured Fund. And as of March 5th, the New Mexico Self-Insured Fund did accept our claim and close out the case. We'll be issuing a check next Tuesday. There's two separate invoices. There's another slide. So here's the liner system that we repaired, as I said before. Next slide. Here's the liner that was destroyed. Next slide. Here's some of the repair work that was done. So we had two separate POs that went up to Medical Self-Insured Fund. One, the first PO was $19,000 to EnviroWorks, exposed the liner so we could see the extent of the damage. Now that we know the extent of damage, we started an SMA to do all the environmental work. I actually have here with me the closeout letter from solid waste from the SMA, and also the email verifying the Medical Self-Insured Fund will be reimbursing us the full amount. That one is there for any questions.
Anybody have any questions? Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Where were the cash balance of this funded by taking it out of current cash balance? Are we going to be negative or positive by the end of the year?
For solid waste and landfill will probably be in the hole, but solid waste should have enough revenue to cover them. And we're getting all of it back, but 2,500.
Yes, 2,500.
So we'll put that in revenue and.
Okay. Probably the deductible. Thanks.
Any other questions, comments? What's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we ratify the purchase order for $87,259.27, including GRT to Souder Miller and Associates for the emergency repair liner of cell 5A to be placed on the consent agenda for council.
Second.
A motion second. Any other comments? All those wishing to vote in the negative, do so. Passes 4-0. Moving on. Who's up on the ITV 23020?
I am, Mr. Chair, councilors. Agenda item number 2 is a request to hire custom construction in the amount of $306,722.56, including GRT, using invitation to bid 23-020 for the abatement and demo of 112. The abatement would include the entire building, and the demolition would only include the southern half, the pitch roof portion located at 56 D Street. Funding is available and budgeted. The demo expense account for the air center. Next slide, please. So on the right-hand side is a picture of the pitched roof southern half, which would be demoed. And that building is listed on your disposition resolution being considered today. And then the picture on the left is the northern half, which would only include the abatement. And I'll stand for any questions.
So this is a two-step process. We're going to do what we can now and then finish it up hopefully next year.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does this building have asbestos or mold issues that got to be dealt with?
It has both.
Okay. And in my humble opinion, those buildings should have been rehabbed or tore down 20 years ago. Up editorial. Questions?
None.
What's your pleasure?
You take another shot?
Huh?
Mr. Chairman,
Well, nobody else?
nobody else seems
Why
to
don't you
want.
take a nap? Let's see if these other two guys, they're allowed to make motions.
Yeah. I move that we approve to hire custom construction in the amount of $306,722.56, including a GRT, even though his GRT quote is incorrect.
Right. But it was dated last year.
Right.
He had the right GRT rate, then the GRT rate went up. I confirmed via email that his price is still.
We'll make sure what we're talking about then. I'm not sure that I can look at these. Hold on a minute. I'm looking at this bid proposal. This says 209,000. This is 263. So that, to me, it looked like it's 400 some $1,000.
Right, so it includes the entirety of proposal 4380, which is page 11. And then there's a line item on page 12 for around 49,000. And that's the abatement for the northern half.
Not sure what we're looking at here, Mr.
Okay, thanks.
I'm not sure. Because we're going to work.
Yeah, so, excuse me, page 11 is the abatement of the northern half of the building for $39,305.10. And then page 12 is the $263,548.47.
So we're not accepting his proposal on the demolition of the north half for 155,000. That's what you're saying?
Yeah.
So I just want to recheck your math. It's things that I do.
That's okay. So why did this thing get out of sync? Why did we have to go in and go to the PO and say, oh, we're not going to do that. There's no amendment shown in my documentation. Why is that?
We haven't issued a purchase order. We're requesting authorization to do so.
Okay, but I guess, this PO is legally binding, is it not, Counselor?
Once issued and accepted.
Okay, so, but that's what you're asking for is approval to do this, but yet what we have before us is not what's really being asked to approve.
Counselor, if I may, Mr. Chair, if I may, what we're asking for is your consideration. We have not done a purchase for this time, but we do have two quotes from the vendor here. I think what Mr. Rogers is asking for is he's picking a couple of items off the quotes. So there's the item of the 39,000, which is page 11 of the packet. And then the other two items listed on page 12, the separate. I don't know if that answers your question, but.
Right, I guess the PO will only be issued for the amount you approve.
I got that. I understand that, but documents before us are not correct for what they're asking for.
Proposals.
Yeah, and so we got a bid and the person or persons that make these bids think this is it, and then you call them on the phone and say, well, they just approved this. So you have to go back to the negotiating table with them? Is that the way this thing works?
Well, we've already finalized the price of the scope of work.
And the reason you're not doing the whole thing is because funding wise, I would assume. Does that answer your question?
No, I've already got that figured out.
Yeah.
But what I'm concerned about is that what's the date these were sent in?
12/27. 23.
So we've had plenty of time to clean it up.
We get one proposal.
Yeah, just make it work. And if he's willing to sign another deal on there that says, yes, I'll abide by these numbers for these specific parts of this, of these bids, then that's okay. But, I mean, I don't understand. Why are we 5 months downstream and we're still wrestling with this thing? I just find that 4 months. I just got a problem with that, you know? Not clear.
So one purchase order for the 39 and the 206 would be a lot cleaner.
Thank you.
And the proposal of that, we have a clear record that way.
Back, let me ask you real quick, you guys, how critical is this? Just something that has to be done tomorrow?
It's past due.
Well, I realize that, but we can come back to our next finance meeting, with a new proposal, knowing that it's going to be just those items that are on both pages here that we're going to be approving.
Well, let's try it different. We're so far behind.
We could approve the 306 today, just.
I think what you're asking is just a different document to go.
Yeah, let the document catch up with the funding.
What I'm listening to is you want one document which has to come from custom construction,
Right.
and that they know what they're doing.
I think the request is for a revised quote that accurately reflects the total PO.
The total PO, which would be 306.
Whatever. Yep, that's not what it says. Okay, so, because I'm slow today. What is it that you're trying to take off of page 11?
The second line item,
Which is,
$39,305.
you're asking us to consider removing that.
No,
And placing it on the next page, page 12, and add it to the 263, 548,
Okay, so
47.
we're going to move this.
Would that be correct?
striking it.
Well, it would be,
Remove the 39
right,
and add it to this 263.
it would add to these three
4381.
items, and then you add on the sales tax.
What was that?
Oh, and then add on the sales tax, okay.
It's fine.
You're right, because the GRT would definitely change that.
We get to 306.
All right. Let's try to clean up our act, ladies and gentlemen. This is sloppy.
Got it, Mr. Chair.
All right. Huh?
Be ready for a motion.
Well, I don't know. You had one and then you took it back. So what are you gonna do?
I'm gonna put my motion back on the table
Okay.
that we approve the hire custom construction in the amount of $306,722.56, which includes gross receipts tax using ITB 23-020 for the abatement, build and demo of building 112 here, Roswell Air Center.
Can I coach you to say as amended?
It's not amended.
Yes, it is.
Well,
The amount they're asking for is the same amount.
Yeah, same amount.
It's not
Same amount.
Just the supporting documentation is the only thing that's going to be changing.
What do
To
you,
be placed on consent agenda.
Second. I don't want to listen to this crap during the city council meeting.
all right, any further comments? All right. Any negatives? Passes 4-0. All right, now we're gonna talk to the fire department about some.
They got one more.
Yeah, one more custom construction.
Yeah.
Item 3, Bob.
Well, I thought we were done with custom construction.
No, they got one more.
All right, let's go. Who's up on the
Go, Mac.
roof repair?
Back up again.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, councilors. Agenda item number 3 is a request to hire custom construction in the amount of $114,346.14, including DRT using invitation to bid 23-019 for re-roofing hangar C and D of Building 91 at the Roswell Air Center. This would include removing the existing metal roof and installing a new 60 mil TPO roofing system. Funding is budgeted and available in the maintenance and repair expense account for the Air Center. Next slide, please. Hangar A and B of Building 91 was re-roofed using a TPO system in 2020. C and D is shown on the right. And I'll stand for any questions.
Mac, what kind of warranty, Mr. Chairman, Mac, kind of warranty are we going to get on these new roofs?
I believe this is a 10-year warranty.
Okay. And are we using the best materials to keep them from blowing off and everything else?
I think it's rated for a 55-mile-an-hour wind.
Code is 110, isn't it?
I don't know what code is, but I'm just saying.
Well, the reason why A and B was changed for the right reasons, they had a wind that blew a section of the hangar out. And they went in there and did it, and the underlayment wasn't sufficient, and it was brought to people's attention, but nobody did anything with it.
Oh, yeah.
So the roof was installed properly, and another wind came along and rolled it up and dropped it in front of the hangar.
Right.
And my question is, what's the contingency when they get this sucker off? How many years has that hangar been leaking? Anybody know? Jennifer, I saw you here earlier.
She's hiding behind Rita.
How long has that sucker been leaking?
Probably 7 years.
I like your optimism. But my question is, what's the contingency if they get that sucker ripped off and what's left to hold the new roof on? That's what happened on the white building you see there. There isn't any. Okay, we answered the question.
So the new roof is similar or the same as the one we installed in 2020.
Except that one's been leaking for 7 years, Jennifer says. Pointing out some concerns. Okay, anybody else?
Chair, was this was an ITV, how many people bid on it?
So this is, we're utilizing an on-call roofing contract. So we just got a single bid. We have two on-call roofers. We just got the one bid for custom construction.
We went over that, I think, the last meeting, Mr. Matthews went over it and explained how we go out and contract with specific.
Yeah, the other,
Do specific.
that was the wiring part of the airport.
Huh?
The wiring part of the airport, I believe that was.
Well.
Same thing, so.
I think the minutes show a teaching moment.
Thank you.
Where's your minutes? All right, what's your pleasure? Anything else? What's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to consider the approval of the hire custom construction in the amount of $114,346.14 using ITB 23-019 for roofing of the hangar C and D of Building 91 at the Roswell Air Center. Funding source is going to be budgeted $1,893,216.79 in our roof building 51004332-614018. The unencumbered balance is $198,061 and no pennies on this one. And put that on the consent agenda.
I second.
Got a motion, a second.
Mr. Chair, just a question.
Yeah.
The proposal is for $114,281.90. The request is for $114,346.14.
Thank you.
Which is it?
It's what's listed in the abstract because the GRT rate is wrong on the proposal.
The GRT that he used was 7.83323.
The current one is 7.985.
Again, this proposal date was back in November of '03.
Yeah, and guess what? Yeah.
November of 2023.
Yeah.
We're not responsible for this, Daryl. We weren't here.
It just, well, we never, I don't recall seeing it for today. I don't understand. Mr. Cole,
Sir.
you got any explanation that maybe why we're months out getting this stuff put together?
Year.
No, sir.
Well, this is November of 2020. No, 4 months, 5 months.
Okay.
3
Just
to 4 months.
Yes.
All right. So are you happy now?
Yeah. Fine.
Any other comments? All right. So any opposition to the, putting it on the consent agenda? Hearing none, it passes 4-0. Now we're to the concrete parking at the fire department, Station 2 down the street.
Station 1.
Station 1?
That's one.
Look, Chair, members of the committee, we're here to ask for your blessing and approval of a PO for a concrete project there at Fire Station 1. So this project, we're going to try and accomplish it last year. We had the funding last year. We held on to some money for some other bigger projects that we wanted to get accomplished. We were able to roll that money over. This money is coming from the 2265, so State Fire Fund grant money. And we can move to the next one. It's to the amount of $85,673.58, which includes GRT. Engineering helped us come up with this amount. They're using the ITB with Abraham Construction to do all the concrete work for the city. They're the same groups doing it for us. So we can continue. I included some pictures here.
The items got taken and over.
Is that the slide you're on?
That'll work. Yeah, I think it is actually. It was. It'll work.
You'll get there.
So it's a little bit blurry, it's the best I could do. So the shaded part, of course, is concrete we're doing, which is from the flagpole all the way almost to the very south end of our property line there. Where the cars lined up on the very bottom of that picture is basically where our property line is. It's going to go in, this isn't been touched, I was talking to Mr. Matthews, we don't know the last time this was even touched. We've babied it for a lot of years. It's going to make the pour accurate. We have AHA parking and a ramp already designated, so they're going to make it all smooth. They're going to fix the water flow in the street as well. Engineers going to fix that water flow, so we're not going to have the pitting. I'll show you pictures of the cracking concrete. Water shouldn't be sitting on the concrete anymore. And then on that bottom side, so our fire apparatus, when we come down for class, whatever the case is, they'll use this far south end of the building as well to gain access to the back and the park and to respond out on calls as well. And so all that will be a 10-inch pour. The same depth as our pad in front of the station to support the weight of that truck, so we're not cracking it. We can move on. So this is currently what it looks like. The top left picture is just that, so the trucks are pulling out. It's just wear and tear over years and years and years. And then on that bottom right, that's where cars park. Some of it's in decent shape, but the majority of it, we're starting to see a lot of aging and a lot of cracking through that concrete. Is there one more picture? Is that? That's the remainder of it. So with your blessing, we appreciate the approval of the PO.
Chairman, you said that was a 10-inch?
10-inch pour where the trucks are going, yes. Not all of it is a 10-inch pour. So where the regular vehicles are going, I believe it's a 6-inch pour. The engineering was involved and they got all the numbers and the ones that finalized.
6 inches is what I'm saying, yeah.
Just the only 10 inches right there. Is that top left picture on this.
Item number 77, yeah, okay.
That's the 10-inch port.
Yeah.
Of our fire engines.
Questions?
Chairman, I'd like to consider a recommendation for a PO for pavement maintenance overlay to Abraham Construction Incorporation in the amount of $85,673.58. That includes GRT, the funding source for the fire protection grant, M&R infrastructure 2264-123-614020.
You want that on the consent?
Let's put that on the consent, I believe.
Second.
Got a motion and second. Any other comments? Any negative votes, signify by saying aye. Hearing none, passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Now we're going to spend.
Thanks, Daniel.
Thank you, guys.
Now we're going to spend some money, maybe. Okay, who's up on the Country Club Reservoirs?
Sure. Mr. Chairman, committee members, what you have before you is ordinance 24XX in support of Country Club Reservoir Recap Project. The funding source for this is Mexico Finance Authority Project 5980 WPF. The total agreement amount is $50 million. This is a split grant and loan, 55% loan, and the amount of $4.4 million, 45% grant, which is $3.6 million. The loan is a 20-year term at an interest rate of 0.25%. The loan payment is approximately $225,000 per year. That's paid up now. All the documents have been submitted to the city attorney for review. We're asking for their approval to move this forward to the council. And myself and utility director Lorenzo Sanchez will answer any questions you have.
Questions, gentlemen?
Sure. I believe the last time we saw this, the question was, is it really $8 million?
8.2.
I have no evidence of that.
Well, but that's what latest.
It would be nice, Mr. Chairman, to see the evidence of what this is and not being withheld. Because now you're going to have additional costs.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to go somewhere else. And I'm concerned that this is not enough money.
I understand.
So until I see an estimate of what this is going to be, I'm not going to support it until we know what the total cost is.
Let me go and, here's a new engineer's estimate for everybody. And that's from Tank Industry Consultants. engineering firm that gave us the estimate for that.
Was it to see that it's less than they?
This includes moving in and moving out.
I do believe it includes the mobilization also.
Okay. All right, so
Mobilization and
I'm
demobilization.
mistaken, 7.947.
Would you help me with this, Lorenzo? So item 1 is for 3,128,000, correct? Item 1 is 3,128,000.
Yes.
Item 2, I don't have items 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, this doesn't have the whole, I can print that up for you. We have the full engineer's estimate. It just didn't print out. But I do have the total. And they're the same exact amount, I believe. One, I can go through that real quick.
I'm just concerned that there's enough money.
Well, it's like all these projects, they always seem to,
Because what are we going to do? The 80 million is not enough. What are you going to do? You're going to stop?
So this, if this moves on, I can have a full report on council when we take it to council this next one.
I mean, the project needs to get done. We all agree to that. My concern is at what price? This is an engineer. Until we get a bid, we don't know. Because we just don't know. Because the engineer says, it's just my guess. So I'm concerned that we don't have enough funds. Or where the additional funds going to come from.
well, let me give you a little extra insight to what I understand. And that is, this deal was negotiated, if you recall, Councilor, last year.
Yep.
And we've sat on it till now because we couldn't figure out how to pay for it. And now we've got this water rate study. If you don't pass the water rate study, we can't afford any of it. This engineering estimate was dated just recently. And at my encouragement, he got it done. I'm sorry he didn't bring him the whole dadgum report. And this, as I see it, this is the way it goes. If we don't get this sucker moved, then the whole deal's off the table with the truck board, and we got to go back from square one and renegotiate and do all that stuff. So it's kind of like a lot of this stuff, we got our back against the wall.
That's gonna be my concern, is losing the grant amount and water trust board, one pulling out of it and not giving us the $3.6 million we're getting. I mean, I can definitely have this proposal for you on the full council. Like I said, I can go print it up right now.
Yeah, but his comment is this engineering estimate.
And he'd like the bid to come higher.
Yeah.
He is correct.
So
Never know what they're gonna do anymore.
these things have been needing. And I just hope that the damage isn't so much worse that this one, when they get in there, gonna find, because you know how this water is, you get a leak in it and get better till you fix it. And whatever else deterioration that's going on, it's gonna get better either till you fix it. So I don't know, whatever you guys want to do.
Well, why don't we make a motion to put it to full council? And then by then you should have what you need. But I mean, this is something that's critical for us to get done. And I understand Councilor Hildebrandt's concerns, Mayor Pro Tem, that, I mean, God knows, I mean, the what ifs that we have going on today with inflation and everything else and the possibilities of it. But we keep screwing around with this deal. It's going to be, it could be a whole lot worse by the time we do say, okay, we're going to do this, and now it's going to be even more, even a bigger problem. So I think that we move it to full council and a week from today, hopefully you'll have any answers that any of the councilors have on this before we take a vote on it as a city council.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I'm just concerned that if we don't move this project forward, we're gonna have critical failure of them tanks out there. You've seen the pictures of them, they're in very bad shape. I mean, if the cost is going to go up, it's going to go up. We have to move forward with this project. Just stating my concerns, that's why like Finance Chair Corn said, we have to pass the rate increase to be able to fund this project regardless. With that, we should have sufficient funding to fund the reservoir we have. And then we'll start prioritizing our water infrastructure repairs according to the critical nature of all the infrastructure in the city of Rome. The tanks is priority number one right now.
In my opinion, it's priority one for everything that's going on in the city. So we're going to have to bite the bullet, make a decision, move on down the road. And wherever we're going to have to scrape the balance when it's all said and done, we're just going to have to do it. It's not a pretty picture,
And
not an ideal picture.
And Mr. Chair, Mr. Acting Engineer, or do we?
He's still here, so.
Oh, he's still here.
Assistant.
Mr. Assistant, I can't remember in the actual bond obligation language, there has to be an up-to-date cost estimate before they will issue us the money. So if the estimate gets off kilter, the legal won't sign the document, then it'll immediately come back.
So we've still got some safety valves in
Yeah.
the deal.
Right. They won't fund a project unless the funding fully funds it. Or on paper.
if I could, Mr. Sanchez, when was the last time you got a bid or a quote? This project has been in play for 13 years.
We've had it since 2013. We've had the last time we did an engineer's estimate. It wasn't even done at 8 years. So this has been kind of getting kicked down the road. Things aren't getting any better. They're starting to look worse. I've taken a few of the counselors out there to look at it, and I mean, you've seen it yourself, Mr. Cole. I mean, they're in very, very bad shape.
Who put the drones in the tank?
TIC, Tank Industry.
Tank industry.
They're the ones who do our inspections on the tanks, and they put the drones in there, and they actually.
Did they provide any potential cost quote information?
No, nothing critical. That's how they drew up their engineer's estimate according to the film and everything that they draw from the drone footage.
Chairman, how long would it take for these ITVs to get processed and get out there and start looking at real numbers? And this isn't going to be the on-call, is it?
No, we could.
This is definitely not on.
No.
Yeah, I mean,
If breakneck speed, we can get an ITV done in 3 weeks.
3 weeks?
Mac, that's what because we have to do the week of publication, 2 weeks, so 4 weeks, because then the week to process.
Okay.
And then the mayor can send it straight to council if that's something the committee's comfortable with, if we really need to move quick.
Well, it sounds like we need to move quick and, sounds like we do, but 4 weeks is pretty good, I guess. We could expedite the ITV too as well. I mean, that would be great. And, try to get as many players as you can.
Definitely. More bidders, better price.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And, and have them include the mobilization, everything, so it's wrapped up with a nice bow on it. We kind of know, have a number what it is. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to recommend moving this to full council, the ordinance 24-XX in support of funding the Country Club Reservoirs Rehabilitation Project. Funding sources in New Mexico Finance Authority Water Project Funding Project 5980-WPF with a total monetary agreement amount of $8 million. This project will likely impact the fiscal year 25 budget. Debt will be paid back through the Water Enterprise Fund. loan payment will be approximately $225,000 per year.
Second.
So motion and second. Any other comment? Okay, any negative votes? Passes unanimously. Okay, what do I do with my cheat sheet that I can't read?
We're on 7 now.
Well, I don't even have that.
6.
Yeah, you're not any better than I am.
I got the hell ahead of myself.
I just had it here.
I don't have it.
Yeah, you left yours at the house.
Were you looking for that?
Can't tell, I can't keep score. Can't keep score for losing my thought. Oh, there it is.
Better program.
Gotta keep track of the actors and the actresses. So, okay, so we got that one done.
Yeah, I got past this.
Approval of resolution 2411, certain surplus property. You always got junk. You think eventually we'd get caught up.
We're getting there.
Okay.
We got rid of 4 scrap vehicles yesterday. Actually got a good price for them.
The total that one?
Looks like you're running a
Oh, the chop shop.
auto junkyard.
Yeah, the chop shop.
That's what it looks like you're running over there.
They did, the ones that are on there for scrap, they did go through and salvage a bunch of stuff off of them to replace parts and pieces out of the coal parts, so there's not much left.
Got a hull, huh? Got the hull left?
So we got rid of 3 tow cars and a bus.
Okay. As usual, it's got a pretty extensive list. All right, any other questions? We ribbed him enough to get back to work.
So if reserve wasn't met, were they still auctioned off?
If the reserve's not met, then we will either go back in and reset the reserve, or we can also go back and give it to the actual highest bidder. It just depends on what we think the value of it is. But once that reserve's not met and the auction closes, then by policy, we can just get rid of it however we can for the best amount of money.
And it's safe to say you just got rid of it? You got rid of all of these?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Well, some of them will be auctioned off. The scrap ones are gone.
Nice.
Robert, are you guys auctioning all this stuff off online now?
Yes.
All of it does. Correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
Works pretty good. We've been getting decent amounts of money for stuff.
Good.
It's easy, quick, and it's probably in the market, so keep doing what you're doing. Okay, what's your pleasure, gentlemen, on surplus property?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve resolution 24-11, authorizing disposal of certain surplus personal property placed on the consent agenda.
That's second.
Got a motion, a second? Hey,
I'll third it.
I need to even talk to the folks.
As long as you fourth it, we're good.
Any opposition signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Said opposition.
Threw a curveball, didn't
You thirded it, now you voted
I'm all
against.
for it. I'm just throwing you into a tailspin.
Been in those before. Know how to get out of them sometimes. It's every time. I'm still here.
Let me make sure I correct my vote. I am for that sale.
Okay, so I can announce that 4-0
4-0.
in the affirmative.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I'm not the one that's worried about it. Tammy down there, she's the one that's got to keep up with all this stuff.
I'd like to add council members to the next list. Let me know.
Is it a short list or a long list?
We'll bury it in there somewhere.
You won't get much for them.
And no reserve?
No, sir.
No reserve.
Maybe their families will bid $1. That may not even happen. All right, moving on. Let's get into this solid waste stuff. Ordinance 24XX. Now, before we get into this, let me explain. Since the legal committee several weeks ago, I have been working real hard trying to get heads or tails of these numbers. Mr. Cole and Ms. Davies was gracious enough for me to occupy a whole lot of Tammy's time trying to get this thing pulled together. Just do an analysis. Where are we? These numbers don't add up to me. She concurred. I did not coach her. I just said, here, you look at it. She said, what? She asked me some questions. I said, I want fresh eyes looking at it. And so she went in it, and then we met, and she and I confirmed, and she took it several more steps because I got to the point to go, this doesn't make any sense, so the rest of it can't fly either. And she took it all the way through, and it didn't make a whole lot of sense. So went back, rehashed the numbers. Finally, last week, I think it was, we finally agreed on the number of customers we have. Is that accurate?
I sent you a list on Saturday of
Okay.
what we build.
There you go. And we finally got agreement on just the number of customers we have. That's how convoluted this thing has been. So yesterday I was down here and I went over the two proposals I had with Mr. Cole sitting right down there at that end of the table. And he looked at it and I explained what I understood about it. And we decided on an option. I took the paperwork up to Tammy's office. These two were in there, and I said, option 2 is what we're gonna go with. You got till 2 o'clock to get it all put together. And then, so today, we're still looking at option 1 and option 2. And Councilman Hildebrand, you went through, did some math calculations. I'll let you talk about that in a minute. Trying to get heads or tails of this. And quite frankly, gentlemen, I am at a loss on this thing. I've been working my tail off, tied up lots of staff time that shouldn't have ever had to worry about this. And so here we are. I'm gonna turn it over to our department head.
The chair, as council wanted to discuss, he is correct. At the previous meeting, we were assigned to discuss the analysis, hand it back to finance, have finance get a fresh pair of eyes on it, that it's actually accurate. So at that point, the solid waste department was at the ready and Debbie ready with Tammy, provided context, documentation to support any kind of questions that might have had throughout the study. Finance was able to put all. Excuse me. There was a lot of back and forth and redirection. We came to a consensus of the full model. Model did generate an amount of 2720 at the end. And at that point, we did a full context. We folded in landfill options as well. So at the direction of the legal committee, they wanted to get a full snapshot of the entire department, how it actually works. So in providing that context, finance developed 2 separate options, and now we include the landfill, which gives you the full picture of what's going on there. The analysis tested the model, identified some errors in the initial analysis. To the point to the chair, it was the customer count. The customer count is critical to the analysis that was performed by finance. The introduction of the landfill cost service has been completed, and the new projected rates are being developed for the landfill. That's why you see a couple of options for you. So we can go on the landfill side. Next slide. So in going through this, we've been going through this back and forth, but there's a lot going on here. One of the recommendations is that combining the landfill to be compliant. The CPI does not keep up with the actual operating costs and inflation costs. The landfill collection, the landfill historically has always covered about 2 million. The road trash program generates significant amount of cost to the department. You do dumping that was referenced in the 2002 memo for NewGen at the tone of 1.2 million, just to provide some clarity there. Our gravel trucks are picking up household hazardous waste throughout the entire city. 2 million. Pay that stuff that we pick up, you do not charge the community to charge for free. Sorry. Solid Waste has been managing for a flat budget since 2020. That was pretty interesting because we've done a lot with less in 4 years. And we do not pull from the general fund whenever we have shortfalls. Next slide. Some benefits or financial safeguards in the enterprise fund. So we developed, just like the water did, we developed some reserve accounts, some infrastructure, some capital, some emergency. We will be using some shared language with water to protect the fund. The enterprise will be able to, so one of the benefits of this is to help the solid waste department be able to be financially stable and standalone. The reserve accounts will allow us to update and rebuild an aging and outdated infrastructure for the landfill and help us set the stage for some long-term planning. The rates and included in this, the rates will be reviewed in 2025, so we can be ready for FY26 in case we have to go up or down, or however the governing body wants to go. This also creates us a good funding source, so we can move that. I don't know if you can move it, but it helps us with future recycling. So we're going to expand that recycling program. We'll be able to have a funding for this as well. Next slide. So I want to make a correction here. The very bottom, that 1.1 million, that should actually be.
It's the 8, that's wrong.
It's the 8. Yeah, so that 8,407,762, that's actually the. I got it mixed up. The projected revenue is 8,407,766. So that is. So the shortfall between both funds is 1.1 million. So we have to make up that difference. On the landfill side, as you see it right now, this is today, this is actual, this is right now. We'll have a shortfall on the landfill side of about $1 billion. We did use some of the funds that we had budgeted and approved to purchase the D8. It's about $600,000 that this committee approved, so the council. Just want to give you a snapshot of what we're dealing with today. It's happening today. Next slide. So new rate design. So new rates were scheduled to begin on July 1, 2024. Solid waste original projections resulted in a proposed rate 2773. That 2773 was generated by us. So we used the model that was provided to us, put it together, we ran out of three. This is the number that we came out with to split up in the entire city, the rate at 2773 residential. City of Roswell Finance was able to approve the study, and that was built by us. It resulted in a variation of 3 cents for collections. So when finance got a hold of it, they stripped it down, provided that context. We took the direction from the legal committee, went to finance. There was a 3 cent variation. NewGen was contracted to help us provide some consulting, and they performed a high-level basic projection and concluded that we're within 93 cents for the collections. Next slide. So option 1, this is the full accounting, full snapshot of what we were looking at. So in utilizing what finance had gone through, what they kicked out, this is what it produced. Next slide. This is at the request of Councilor Corn, we did a 5% across the board, steadily across the board, which is a lot more conservative. And this is what the numbers are kicking out, so it gives you something to consider as well. This is 5% across the landfill, the entire department. So this is what it generated. Next slide. So this is optional A with that, option 1 and A, doing the rate model. This is what it's take out. This is what the model generated. So finance was able to create a model, the same model for the landfill side for all of our fees, all of our cost of service. You know, there's a significant increase all the way across the entire operation of the landfill side. Next option. Next slide, please. So this is the 5% across the board. So this is a little bit, and this is strictly my opinion. I'm going to present you the numbers. This is this is a better option so we can keep the landfill a little bit more economical. We still have to generate business. We'll still be able to generate, we'll still be able to generate enough revenue for us to fund that program. Next slide. At that point, like I said, Council Committee, we're here to present you the information. However you want to decide to either continue, edit, whatever you want to do, we are at your part of the term.
And pun intended.
Mr. Chairman, quick question. So whatever we look at here, whatever we're going to do, we're still going to come back and look at this again in 2025. So if we've gone above what we really should, then we can correct. But if we've gone below, we can correct.
Correct.
Okay.
We're not putting ourselves in a box. Right. That's one of the problems we've had for decades around here. They didn't ever do any objective study, and I think that's apparent by all the different renditions and assumptions and stuff that went into these calculations, not only for these guys, but for the water department too. And we need some time to streamline that process, look at the numbers, and I'll make a prediction, 6 months, we're not going to have any meaningful data. I just don't think we're going to have real meaningful data. I don't think we'll have good trend data. Maybe we will, maybe I'm wrong. It'll be 18 months before you can really get an objective look and go through and fine tune this thing, in my opinion. And you guys are a pretty smart group, so hopefully you'll prove me wrong.
And we're moving this to council for a public hearing.
Yep. That would be the optimum.
Right, it'd be a public hearing, and then we'll vote on public hearing. And then for you're a veteran, Mr. Chairman. Presently on the floor is what legal committee had referred over. So any changes in the numbers would have to come as a substitute.
On the water side.
On the if you were to pass this ordinance, you'd have to, and you want different numbers, there would have to be a substitute. Someplace.
We can do that now.
Right.
So we've been given this stuff. I've handed it this afternoon. I have not gone through it like that and tried to make the details of it. Not clear to me. The numbers are similar, but I'm not going to tell you that they're the same. Councilman Hildebrand came in and had some calculations he did. And there was some question about the same numbers that he used. So I don't know. I don't care. Good news is I think the first time I've seen a printout of his equipment out there. So maybe I'm mistaken, but I don't remember seeing it.
So committee chair, committee members, the list you have in front of you that shows the highlighted red, we actually provided this to finance and to infrastructure. This was about a year ago. And then what we did, just recently we had staff go out there and verify. Those are the red ones, the critical ones that need to be replaced as soon as possible. They exceeded their life. Those chugging on. Part of the capital that's built into the rate model will help us with the replacement. A lot of that equipment, our side loaders, we run them pretty significantly. We run over 200, 300 miles, over 200 miles a week because we service it twice a week. The life of that piece of equipment, that's basically for each 10 years, so we actually cut it in half because we service the city twice a week. So that's for your review. The rest gives you some context and some capital that was built. And from the capital side, the infrastructure side, you can answer any questions. Related to the model, you can try to provide some context for the video. One more, I'm sorry, Councilor.
No, I do have a question. You have capital equipment for the landfill in your option at let's just call it $1.3 million. I don't see anything on here that's landfill. This to me looks like it's all solid waste.
Right, you're correct.
Where is the landfill?
We're doing good at the landfill. We're not looking for any equipment. That D8 dozer was one of the last pieces of the puzzle. We have a blade that's been out there for a while. It's fine. That does not need to be.
Well, I'm confused then because you've got under landfill, your request or your model. Find it here. The model has capital outlay in the amount of 1.3 million for landfill. I'm not seeing equipment for landfill.
So we have two pieces of equipment that we can still chug along. It's gonna take us a while to generate that kind of revenue. The scraper has already been rebuilt twice, and the blade is at the last end. So that was the only two pieces of equipment as we run this gets approved, be able to generate that fund so we can purchase that.
Well, that really needs to go in the reinvestment account.
Well,
sure. However,
If that's what I don't have anything to support, tells me to support the 1.3, Mr. Chair. That's what I don't have.
I understand. Well, I can tell you that at some point, the way the city is accounted for this stuff, maybe Jenny can answer the question, is that this enterprise fund has been split into two. Why that was done, I don't know. But the problem, as I see it, is that the landfill portion doesn't generate any revenue, $120,000 a year on a good year. And a lot of times it's less than that. And so I don't know why they did that, but I've had discussions with Mr. Cole and Ms. Davies about why are we doing this? This is insane. Let's pull them together and get it done, because the way we have budgeted in the past is he gets two basically budgets, and he uses this part of the budget like his fuel for half the year, and he sits there and looks at that big cash reserve, and then he starts drawing down at mid-year to go into the next half of his budget, if you will. And I haven't heard any good arguments to keep it the way we're doing it.
Speak. That was done before I started here. I agree. I don't know why it was split out, but there's several of that goes on. My issue is I can report it to you all consolidated. If I try to consolidate it now, we lose some historical data. So for reporting purposes, until I can do something with the general ledger, it's easier for me to combine two than it is to just put everything in one and then go in there and manipulate the numbers to pick up for prior years what has happened in that other fund. If we're looking at a new software, I would fix all of this in a new software.
Well,
if it worked.
Yeah.
I didn't say we had it figured out.
It was set up right.
I said we had discussions.
Yeah. So for reporting purposes to you all, I will report them on a consolidated basis because, like you just said, landfill normally runs at a loss. So collections has to cover it anyway. But to actually merge them, it's going to make budget look a little funny and historical data. And it makes more work on my end if I have to just do one half of it. If I can just merge two budgets, it's easier.
Well, like I say, it's in discussion. Nothing's been done. Because we're exploring options. If there are really any options, I don't know. And part of that will be decided during our budget process. It'll start in April and we'll all see in hopefully May or June timeframe. And then those decisions will be discussed even further in more detail. And we'll figure out what we're going to do. There'll be some other things that'll probably fall in to place between now and then. And hopefully we'll get a handle on the computer thingy by then, at least get a direction. I won't say we're going to have it fixed, but at least we'll have a direction and get this thing pulled together. So there's lots of moving parts. Bottom line is that we have a known issue that's under control right now. We don't have any money to support any kind of, if we get one of those monitor wells that spikes, we have no plan. We don't have any money to throw at it. And then just ongoing operation. He thinks we need to replace these trucks. That's fine. That's his job. He's got to put it on the plate. There'll be some discussion about that. There's not any way to fund this right now. So that's the reason why. And oh, by the way, this rate deal been kicked around here for over 2 years. Like a lot of this other stuff. Quit kicking around, make a decision, vote it up or down, and move on. And we even got NextGen got in our pocket a little bit, trying to make heads or tails of this stuff. And then there was, at one point, somebody wanted to do another complete study. No, it's time to move, do whatever. And you're right. We'll get a chance to look at this and adjust it later on. Once we get down the road, then we'll have our models put in better shape and it'll be an easy review. And I as large as these funds are, it's crazy to me that they haven't already been on an annual review. But the city of Roswell, for decades, not pointing a finger at anybody, pointing at all of them, had never sat down and looked at this stuff. It's just mind-boggling to me.
Some of your side loaders here, they've got weak hydraulics. That's, do you want to replace them?
So the hydraulics is majority of the system. We actually have two of our operators sitting behind you. So because we run it so much, we run the packer, that system is running full bore for 4 days a week, 40 hours a week. So that's one of the first components that wears when you start playing. So
The hydraulic pumps and everything.
hydraulic pumps, sensors, arms, valves, the hard lines, the valves, exactly. We change those. Usually we run it, so we run it. So
I noticed you got some 2010s that are still rolling and the 2019s that are ready to check out, so.
we're trying to keep those together. We try to fine tune.
He's been operating them, huh?
We just got his back from out.
Did you? Yeah.
We'll be done then.
That's where they repair the auto cars?
Yes, that's what we've been going on the car. Some of the two new side roads that are coming in, that should be here within the next 2 weeks. For actually Hiles, Mr. Bruce Allen runs a Hile. It's been a very reliable system, very reliable machine. So that's why we went to the Hile direction. And we're hoping to, as you get new feet on board, our maintenance costs are reduced. We'll be able to run pretty efficiently. So we run the packer so much, the bottom wear plate on those trucks is actually thinning down so thin it's popping the welds. So we have to go in there, the belly of it, rips out the bottom, but brand new plate for the bottom.
Sound like we need a replacement program too to kind of.
I have a replacement program that I emailed out to Chad Hess.
Okay.
Council Gordon. So we have one built. I have it built all the way to FY33. And that replacement model, we can adjust it, we can expand it, we can condense it, however the governing body wants to do it.
Thank you, Chair.
Your lats must be burning.
Mr. Chair, so this ordinance rate structure, is this option one or is it option two? Well, the way it's printed, is this option one or is this option two?
Which version of option?
Correct. There's no, and I don't see anything in this ordinance that maybe that addresses landfill costs,
That's what,
addresses landfill.
well, for whatever reason, they are the ones, somebody before us started doing the landfill thing. And it was, I don't know if they're trying to figure out how much it was really costing them or what the deal was.
Well, I get it. You should understand what your cost is with that landfill operating. You just don't want to mesh it all in and lose control of it. Because when your costs go here, what Janie's saying, I agree with, that she can bring these things together. So you need to know what your cost centers are really operating. I believe that. Don't throw them together. Leave them alone. But when you do your rate study, they all get thrown in because the sanitation cannot operate without a landfill. Landfill cannot operate without a sanitation department. They're dependent on each other. And I don't care about the transfers in from sanitation to landfill. The cost of the cost. I don't know why we even do that, because you're just taking one and the other, and it's the same fund, correct?
No.
It's the separate funds. So that's all you're doing there. But you're just taking from one pocket, putting in the other pocket. And that's all you're doing. So I'm not sure what I'm voting on as far as rates go. I have no idea what I'm voting on.
So
Whether it's got landfill costs or not. Is it option one? Is it option two? What are we voting on here?
Off that battle for the last 2 weeks.
No.
Was my option.
But I'm willing to push this forward. This may not be the rate structure. So get some more answers, because I worked with Abraham, I worked with Tammy as well. And we went back to next gen. And the problems that we had with the next gen, one is the customer count. It's different. Two, they had old numbers in there. So they don't have to do a complete study. They've got a master worksheet, Excel spreadsheet. You just plug these numbers in and it's done. And I don't know what, I looked at all of that and it was very extensive, but if we had good numbers in there, then it's going to validate everything here. And I don't know, I asked you to talk to him about that. What would it take if we got these correct numbers? We got our operating expenses, we got our payroll expenses, and we got our capital expenditures and a correct customer count. Rerun the damn thing, what would it cost us? Shouldn't be much. It really shouldn't be much. That's just putting in input current numbers.
He gave me a cost at 40 hours with his time as one of associates, 19.5.
How much?
19.5.
Yeah. Pretty pricey.
Yeah.
But
40 hours.
yeah, I mean, it's proprietary software, or you can make it, but you know, it won't take him 40 hours. It'll take him 4 hours and it'll be done.
Committee chair, Counselor, answer your question. I did talk to him. He will have it back within less than 30 days, a full scale, exactly what you're asking for.
Yeah, I would just ask him to just update the previous one that was done with the current numbers. Yeah,
I'll be glad to have the conversation with him. I can invite Hess on the phone and we can hammer him. But it's up to the committee, however you want to decide, whichever way you want to go.
I hope we get something moving, because we're looking at 6 months anyway. Either get it done or forget this deal, because I've spent way too much time on this so far. And it's time to fish or cut bait. Period.
Well, Mr. Chairman, we're gonna have the opportunity to change this if we need to. However you put it into the document, this is gonna be for a hearing that's gonna happen in April. One thing that concerns me that we really haven't talked about, we talked about during our workshop, is that we We have an issue out at the landfill that really could be pretty critical in the future with cell.
We could start tomorrow.
And that's going to be an expensive deal to try and mediate that deal. It can be a lot less, but we're going to have to be able to get on it quickly and show that our due diligence as a city in handling that situation.
Well, I think Abraham can talk about that.
So I've been talking to the state and also dealing with our environmental engineers. They're proposing a landfill gas recovery system that'll burn off a lot of those VOCs, volatile organic hydrocarbons. That's about a $2 to $3 million cost that we can put on cell one at New Vance at the lower lows all out. This is not, I did run it by the state twice already. This is not the state's not pushing it. There's no driver there. We've already had 2 meetings. I have a third one coming up on the 11th. I'll have Chad and Mike sit on board. It's not driving in. Our stuff is trending down. However, like Councilor Corn did have a great point. If we hit a certain level of decomposition and we spike, it's going to shoot back up immediately. So now we're in trouble of contaminating the Vado zone. The Vado zone is top of the ground, about 5 feet down. That is the area that we do not want to tamper with. Again, at the bottom of the landfill, 180 feet, 185 feet, we have the large rock. So that's one of the reasons that's critical. However, the state did say if we do put a gas recovery system, we can anticipate that spike and we'll be ready for it. And if it hits, we're way ahead of it. However, on March 11th, I have another meeting with them, with their hydrologist. We'll have a better definition. I provided some documentation to Chad that he can review. And then I think we have a pretty good handle on it. But that is up to a $3 million cost.
So that's where Mr. Chairman, Abraham, I think, that's where we need to get started with something. And if we have to adjust it 6 months, a year from now, so be it. But we got to get somewhere, in particular with this deal also, as well as our water rates and wastewater rates. We can't keep kicking the can down the road.
So, Committee Chair, Councilor, just a little bit more context for you. That cell was opened up in the mid-70s, late 70s. It ran for 10 years, July 87. In 2016, we had a significant spike in VOCs that we had communicated to the state. So that tells us as that thing's decomposing, as we hit different levels, we're hitting stuff that I think was buried there for years. But I think the conservative approach, and the state is not making us do this. Conservative approach would be to put in a methane recovery system, so we're ready for that, for those spikes as they occur. That's an ongoing decomposition happens all the time.
Or did you have something, or are you just waving at the blinds?
No, I'm just looking up there to see. I'm not waving at anybody. I was more worried if his red shoes will get dirty. No, I don't, you know, there's always a possibility you don't ever hit that, but it just doesn't ever work that way, so.
Well, what do y'all want to do?
My question hasn't been answered.
What's that?
What are we voting on here?
So, Mr. Chair, Councilor, what's being voted, what was referred to committee by your committee is technically on the floor.
That's the rate structure.
Right. So what would be?
So, and is that the rate structure that supports option 1 or option 2?
The rate structure supports option 1. That's a full of
This rate structure in here supports an option.
Well, that's NewSense option.
No, so, yeah, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, we have a lot of titles here. Chaos Creator is very easy to follow.
Yeah.
So what was sent over was so we put in the next gen original study in legal committee and then added subpart F, which provides for the same accounting mechanism that's in the water ordinance, annual April review in front of the city council so that the next year's budget is.
I'm still searching for an answer.
Well, I think, yes, this is what's on the table. It's on the table. But as far as what's in here.
Okay. So does that support? When I look at neither one.
Yeah, neither one is there.
That's right. So, option 1 or option 2?
That's what I'm asking.
Well, what do you want?
I need to go back and run what I think is a back-end test. of these
What do
numbers.
you want?
I want to get this where we got something happening. So option two works fine. That way we're at least getting something started. So then by a year from now, we know if we need to move up or move back.
What do you want?
Let's try two. I mean, I don't, this is very confusing.
Okay.
But doing nothing, I think, is,
It's not the answer.
not down.
I agree. I agree.
So this is what I would recommend.
Immediately come back to it, Chair.
Oh, yeah. So let's move forward to option two, let's amend what they tell us. And tell them to make option two documentation. And then we can vote out the thing as amended. And it can be done.
So you go back to the landfill,
Yes, so.
you gotta put landfill.
Option two is collections. So that's what we'll do with collections. So like you have two options there. Option A and B, if you can go back on that.
Well, let's just try to get one at a time.
IT's got it. Yeah.
We still got options. Let's do option one or option two, and then we can go to A or B. Is that what they were? A or B?
A and B for the landfill side.
One was a 5%.
Mr. Chair, Mayor Pro Tem, councilors, the A or B part, from legal's perspective, we do not need to, by ordinance, do anything with landfill. So the core reason for the collection needing to be done by ordinance is that it's called a law of general applicability. And unless it is a law of general applicability, we can't put liens for default. Nobody's going to go to the landfill in default because we just don't let them know they don't pay. So it's perfectly, from my perspective, it's preferable to make those administrative and to keep the ordinance to only be for the collection side because there's mandatory bills that are talked about.
Option
That's
B,
explanation.
option B follows option two.
Yeah, it's 5% plus.
There you go. There's your answer.
And that
Option B follows option two.
Option two
Follows option B.
and then option B is one and the same. I mean, you gotta have them both.
It's 5% all the way across the board. This is a little bit more comparable. If you go to option A, I need to give you, this is just my opinion, that's what I want you guys to think. If this is implemented, our alleys are gonna open. They will not take it to the dump. So that's gonna create an issue. Option B, I favor, however, it's.
So you're saying option B follows option
Jim, option two on this sheet, option B up there. Option, okay, so amended option two with option B.
Well, he says don't put option. Now he's saying you don't want to put that in the ordinance.
Okay, what do you want to do?
He said don't put it in the ordinance.
Don't put it in the ordinance?
Yeah, it's like I said,
Then all we gotta do is either,
Option one.
Mayor Pro Tem, Mr. Chairman, I hope you get all this because you're going to make this motion. All right, so the motion would read for we would substitute out the graphs in subpart E and substitute in option two as presented to the committee.
Yeah.
Mayor Pro Tem, don't screw it up.
yeah, I had.
I thought we were having fun. It's not fun.
All right, so I've got the proposed option, amendment.
And to repeat that,
Move it.
did you guys, sorry, did you guys get that amendment or would you like me to repeat it?
We got it.
Okay.
They're good.
That's your motion?
I guess so. If he said I did it, I did it. It's supposed to be on the mayor.
So I got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. So this is on the amendment. Okay.
Right.
You got that right. I didn't have to.
Right.
And so any further discussion? Hearing none on the motion to amend and insert option 2. Any opposition? Okay. Watch you a little closer. So that passes 4-0. So now I need a motion to pass the ordinance. And this has the language in it, so we do the review, correct? Okay.
And
As amended.
As amended.
Yeah.
Yeah. Make that motion.
Okay, got a motion.
As amended.
As amended.
Full city council?
Full council.
Well, actually, it's
It's got to go for public
advertisement.
hearing.
Yeah, for advertisement.
Right.
That's the proper. We got a motion.
Carol's gonna say.
Second.
Okay, second. Well, I've been thinking he's taking a nap over there. I mean, you
You
know.
guys wake me when it's time to go, man.
Okay. Any further questions or comments? Thank you all.
Very confusing, though, by the way.
Unanimously. I guess I say any no votes. Now it passes unanimously. Okay, here we go. Okay, we got minutes. Minutes.
Yes.
Okay, what's your pleasure?
I make a motion to consider the approval of the February 1st, 2024 regular finance committee meeting minutes.
Hey, got a motion. You want to say?
Second, I'll second.
Any opposition? No additions or corrections, all right. Any opposition? Passes 4-0.
Make any more
I
motions.
lost control. Wow, chaos. What does it say? Chaos creator. Yes, living up to my title.
Department reports.
Yep, okay.
Okay, so gross receipts came in this month at $3,784,152. It's below budget, $335,000. Right now, we're 17.2% variance over budget. Compared to last year, it came in at 3.5 or 4.4. Sorry, I can't go. Yeah.
We're going to change these next month for you, and we're going to break them out by fund. So we're going to show you general fund, we're going to show you roads, we're going to show you recreation, so you can see how it compares to budget. We just didn't have time to do it today.
And we'll show the new ambulance.
Yes. Yes.
We haven't received that check.
No, we
That
haven't.
should come in this month. It'll be the first month.
First month.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Chairman, just a comment. It's just concerning that we're in a downward trend.
Yep.
Yeah, we don't know, when you look at the January month, we really don't know what our GRT was. We have no idea. There was a settlement in there, so we have no clue. But even if you pull that out, we don't know. But I'm concerned that we're on a downward trend in our GRT. Nothing we can do about it.
No.
It's not like a store can put something on sale and sell more, but we can't do that. It's just concerning to start, especially when we start looking at next year's budget.
And I can tell you when I talked to taxation and revenue when January came in, and they told me it was the food tax, and that they had given some local businesses an option of re-reporting, or they were going to penalize them, so they chose to re-report that it was 2.2 million.
2.2?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now if they're reporting properly, or.
You would have expected that to be up some.
Yep. So, and it's not.
I agree.
It was supposed to be 70,000 more a month.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's
like $140,000.
Yes. Yes. That's just a word of caution.
There. You want this back?
That's all I have to comment about that.
Well, I'm extremely impressed about what's happening here. I can't figure it out. I've been figuring this out for a long time. Trying to figure it out.
You
I don't think I ever. Huh?
attempted.
Yeah, because I am got it figured out. Tempted to figure out. That what you want? Okay. All right. Any other questions on grocery receipts? Cannabis?
Cannabis came in at $36,580, which is 16.9 more than what we budgeted for. We have a variance of 77.14, but we didn't budget anything for July, so that kind of skews it.
That was going to save us from the oil industry.
Now more because the cannabis is up, but the grocery receipts are down. Something is bad with our weeds.
Something is happening in this community. When you look at that, but it's, yeah.
Max Girl Scout cookies.
So, tax food. Did hear that the state reported our cannabis sales have reached $1 billion. Wow. That's to be proud of.
Excited. Can you see the excitement on my face?
You need to calm your enthusiasm.
Okay, there's the trend lines.
What's so bad in March? We'll smoke it all way.
Okay, lodger's tax. Now you all have to be nice now.
Mr. Chair and members of the committee, this is lodger's tax update, December activity collected in January. All hotels reported on time. The STAR data shows we were at 51.8 occupancy and the average daily rate was up 10% from last year.
Nice.
The 5% lodger's tax December remitted in January. We had a 55.9% occupancy and collected $108,666. The lodger's tax report for the convention center bed fee for December remitted in January as well. Was also 55.9% occupancy and we collected $61,255. And I stand for any questions.
Question, John? Yes, sir.
It's a question, the way it gets reported on dollars. If you take the year-to-date, they had 194,000 times 250 equals 485,000. We only got 443,000. Is there a timing difference when we get receipts to report beds?
Sorry, I used to do the lodge check. So it's reported the month after it's collected.
So there's a month difference between.
There is.
Between what?
The report and the collection.
Yeah, because then the July receipts, the receipts, 63,000 really goes back to June.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else on lodger's tax? Okay, good job.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. Talk about capital outlay.
It's got a sign.
Yeah. This is up to date stuff. This is up to date stuff.
She signed it.
Yep. That's till noon.
I don't have it.
You know she would.
We have them.
It's veto some stuff. So who's gonna do the capital legislative session?
Get any ours, I don't think.
Says Robert B. Corn is. Oh, no, you're the chair.
We did, are the yellow marks on here, Jane, the ones that got signed and got passed?
Yes.
These are all this current data.
Right, no, all those ballpark sporting stuff, baseball fields.
Did we have those on our list?
Yeah, they're on our ICIP list. Been on there for about 7 or 8 years.
One of them was.
Oh, really?
I think they were all.
I was just curious where those came from.
He didn't do, I don't think he did anything for anybody else.
Cliff Turtle. Baseball fields.
Yeah, baseball.
The top five that the city put in were all approved.
Top five were all approved.
Yes, and then the Main Street Roswell and the Working Mother's Day Nursery, those were approved. And then it appears they picked up some from.
And then the project that they're doing at Cahoon Park
Yeah,
was approved.
the Lest We Forget part.
Uh-huh.
Christmas doing, and that was approved as a pass-through, so that will actually, so the money should go a little longer.
Yeah, we'll pass it back to them.
Yep. So they get, so they're gonna do the contract, we're not gonna involve ourselves.
Should oversee it though, to make sure that, I don't know if they're still going over that old pool. It probably wasn't packed very well, but that old pool was still, I'm sure they didn't tear that out because they never found the hole. If there ever was a hole. And where the old pool was, WPA concrete.
There was a hole.
It was actually.
The hole where the pool was.
It was all under the pool.
It was actually running through the old drainage system out into the riverbed.
Mhm.
Or BS.
And you got the $3 million for RORA.
Yeah, we got the 3 million. If they'll make a decision, we can get started. And falls squarely in their court. I don't know what else we could do. Mary, you've been involved.
There's another $1 million in there for air show advertising, which are assistance. So, yeah, so we could possibly get some money out of that, but now that would probably be for advertising, or something, some other function there.
Okay, any other questions?
We present that to you before I go, because I'm always the bearer of bad news. So you've got some positive in front of you, and now it's my turn.
Speak to our,
Counselor Court comes in and says, "Are you ever going to tell me anything positive?" And I said, "Well, you'd have to hold back if I did."
Jenny, I learned a long time ago, I'm just a messenger. And but I'm giving you the correct message. I always seem to carry the bad news. You do get to carry good news on occasion, but your profession is more bad news than it is good news.
Yes.
That's a COVID.
Just the message.
What the hell? You can't have everything. You gave it to everybody else.
I said he did, and you bring it to me for that.
How did I get you? Get back to actuals. Did your actuals, Janie? Get your serious face on. Let's go.
What you have in front of you are 12/31, 23 actuals. It's based on our DFA reporting that we report to DFA. The first page is a summary of each one of our funds, the revenue, the transfers, expenditures, adjustments, and then the balance for the year. The second set of your packet has the detail of that. It shows you what all of the, it's pages 125 through 182.
Yes.
And that'll give you actuals for each one of these that tie back to this sheet. I want to say that the actuals show the GRT payments. So the increase, we had 2 increases in GRT payment above our normal payments this year. Both of those are reflected in here in each one of the funds. We're still looking at general fund revenues and expenditures being in the whole $5.9 million. And I tell you on page 2 of the whole the back part of this page, each fund that makes those up and what they are, whether they're running at a deficit or income. General fund has the museum, zoo, and golf are all a part of that fund. So back to what we were talking about on Abraham earlier and the split out of solid waste and landfill. We've done the same thing with some other funds, which makes it difficult because those funds are not self-sustaining. They're not really considered special revenue funds. Special revenue funds normally have a grant component to it. So for DFA purposes, we have to put that in general fund, but they're running at a deficit. The fire protection fund is showing a deficit, but we got the second half of their grant in February, so it's not on here yet. Lodgers tax, we haven't done the transfer out yet to the zoo. We budgeted part of the lodgers tax to cover the zoo deficit. We've not done any of those transfers. The actual other special revenues consist of the library grant, HIDA, hazmat, JAG, transit, the economic development, and then our restricted donation accounts. We've got a couple of bond debt services that are sitting there. We've got payments that are due in February, so we'll be covering all of those. The airport fund is running at a deficit, and it's running at a deficit mainly because of the adjustments, and the adjustments are changes in the balance sheet with liabilities and taking us back to a cash basis. So we take all of the net change in a balance sheet, and that's what the adjustment column is. Doing that for the airport takes them into the red. Cemetery is also running in the red. It should be an enterprise fund, and DFA considers it an enterprise fund. We don't necessarily because it's not self-sufficient either. So if you have questions on that, next month we will have a better picture for you all. We're going through and doing some budget adjustments and some movement of funds to cover some deficits in budget authority that we have. So I will be presenting you next month with budget numbers to go along with the actuals. But I wanted something in front of you all. Chad sent out his memo, was that earlier this week? With a 3/31 deadline. So our next budget adjustment will be after our deadline of closing for purchase orders. So that ought to get us some really good numbers going into the last quarter.
A little bit of breathing room.
Yeah. And then I also gave you an open PO report. These are the, not.
Hold just a minute. So back on the general fund, we're showing almost $6 million short, right?
Yes.
So, Mr. Cole, I would suggest to you that you might consider another memo to all your department heads that are going to be begging for money to close out the fiscal year and tell them there ain't none. Got to do your own savings in your various departments and your various line items to help alleviate this pressure, because this, keep in mind, this is mid-year. This isn't the totality of this.
Well, and we haven't done any of the transfers for like indirect costs, the water rights, some of the leases. We haven't done any of that, and I'm going to run those this month.
Yeah.
That'll change that picture.
Yeah, but it's not going to make it a positive picture.
No, but it's going to change it.
Yeah, it's going to change it, but it's not going to take us positive.
No, it's still going to be negative, but we don't know how much until she does those adjustments. I had a conversation with
Well, and part of it was I wasn't sure whether to do the full transfers, like the lodgers tax and covering the zoo. We were taking $1.1 million, I think, out of lodgers tax for zoo. Do I move the whole thing, or do I move just what is needed to bring them to a zero balance and leave the rest of it in lodgers tax? So, you know, it's some questions like that, and part of the reason why we've not done any transfers. So.
Well, I can see you know, water, you transfer, we're just going to have to short up. But as I was talking to Mr. Cole about that last week, it's better to go ahead and make those transfers so you can really see what your shortfall really is. I believe that.
Well, and the
Just don't
indirect,
go, well, people will look at, well, your water fund was even. You had positive cash balances. Well, yeah, because we had to transfer in to pay for its administrative costs, X number of dollars. And so you get a better picture of somebody just like going, well, look at their water fund balance. Well, not all the costs are there. So you put all the costs in and then you short back up.
Makes for a better argument, that's for sure.
Well, it's a true statement.
And-
When you don't charge them, it's not a true statement.
and for budget purposes, when we did this year's budget, and if you look back at your book, we're showing water going down to a zero balance. So as far as indirect costs, we did not book any, nor did we budget any indirect costs for water. But we did airport, solid waste, landfill, and wastewater.
But again, you're not showing the absolutely true cost of the water department.
Right.
By not doing that.
But I couldn't.
And I know it's going to be short. I think it's going to be short over $1 million.
Water?
Yeah.
I'm hoping not. I think we've done quite a bit of collections.
But if you put in the administrative fee,
Wow.
I think that's about a $600,000 number.
Right. It would be if we had budgeted.
Yeah. And I think it's in the budget.
No, not for water.
Okay.
Because they didn't have the money to take based on our budget. So we didn't budget an indirect cost for water. We did the other enterprise funds, but not water.
Yeah. Well, I just believe if we're going to put it in one, we put it in the other. We put it in water fund as well, and then we short back up to see what the true operating cost is. That's my opinion. Because it's not showing what the true operating cost of the water department is without.
Hard to do forecasts.
Well, and how are you going to, you're talking about a rate increase. If you don't have the cost in there, how do you get the rating? How do you get the rate right? You got to get all your costs.
But I think the question becomes when we're submitting reports quarterly to DFA, if we were to apply indirect costs and run that fund underwater, does that create a new problem?
Well, yeah, we can't. It won't let us submit it.
You can't submit, you'd have to make a transfer back to make it good. So, if we knew what that number is, and then you can redo it in April, because you're not going to submit until the end of June, and then you'll transfer that money back.
Well, and part of the issue that we had in even being able to do it out of water is because water is having to pay water rights to the airport of $500,000.
Right.
So after you get all of that, and then Central, what else is out there? The water towers.
Yeah.
So we've got those three payments that water has to make to the airport.
Right.
And once we got those in, then they didn't have any money to take an indirect cost.
Right, but then the airport's going to ship back in the general fund,
Yeah.
their administrative fee.
Yeah.
So Mayor Pro Tem, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, what I'd like to see moving forward is that we budget those costs in the budget, and then on a quarterly basis, we post those costs unless it throws us into the negative, which would be a problem in our reporting to DFA, but we're not required to apply those. But now we've got them in budget, so it's reflected. And that's what I'd like.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's a good point, and you're exactly right. We've got this, none of this ever gets fixed if we don't fix the budget on the front end. That means balancing it. But we've got to account for all these various things.
You can't get to the good bottom line.
Doesn't matter if you balanced if you didn't account for everything.
That's right. Got to get it all put in there. I agree. I concur. Okay, anything else on the funding side?
No, the open POs, so we've talked about the budget and everything. And if you look at it, even with all of our special revenue funds, we're at a $606,000 positive revenue number. But most of that is in special revenue funds that we can't use anywhere else. And then I give you an open PO that is the amount that's actually open. It's not the PO amount, it's what's left on these POs, $20 million.
Chair, may I ask about the open POs? Are they closed when they're completed, or do you keep them open until a certain every month you close them or
They close when the bill gets paid.
when the bill gets paid and it's completed? Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So these are all lit and active.
Yes, they are.
Thank you. So let me ask 24 million worth to be exact.
For some conversation.
So if those all materialize before June 30th,
We're in trouble.
yeah,
You think that's going to happen?
no.
Why? Say it.
That's as forceful as Chad gets.
So, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, we believe the POs that we have in particular for capital outlay, and we see this in the trends year over year, we're encumbering way too much in terms of what we can get done in a fiscal year. So we ought to be encumbering based on a good idea of the progress that can be made within a fiscal year, and then start a new PO in the new fiscal year rather than try to put a multi-year encumbrance and project that will not complete, because it skews our entire budget. And that's one of the biggest reasons why we are out of balance by 26 million in our budget this year. And it is hurting our people, it's hurting our wages, it's hurting everything.
And the infrastructures roll over though, don't they? The infrastructure POs.
If they are open projects and they're
They're
working
open
on them
project
now.
and they're actually active, right? So if not, you guys close them and then reopen them in the next fiscal year.
Providing it's budgeted.
Chair, we're having this conversation right now, and I know Mac is sitting over there against the wall going, please don't ask Beth to use Jim. Please don't. Got that going? Are we getting it done?
So on the museum store relocation, we're wrapping up the drawings this week and we're getting pricing this month. All of that is funded by state appropriation.
We got to get used to it pretty quick.
Do we get it extended?
I don't know. Did anybody ask for it?
So the appropriation was to DFA and not to the city of Roswell, and then DFA had a grant program for the local government cost overrun projects. And so that's where we got this funding from. We were awarded that funding in November. DFA, I think, requested an extension from the legislature, but I don't believe they got it.
They didn't get it, is my understanding. So back on the open POs, do you have any suggestion or need for this committee to go through these in a more detailed manner and help make decisions, or you just want that burden on your own?
I think we'd prefer to do that on our own through our accounting side, finance side.
I mean, like a lot of your,
Take some evaluation.
a lot of your operating POs, you could just show your beginning PO amount, what you spent in 6 months, and then know you just need 50% of that to.
That's one way to, yeah.
Irish accounting.
Yeah.
But,
What do you call it?
Irish accounting. But, I mean, if you wanted to free up budget, or in the need of encumbering more, I don't know.
Well, and the bad thing is when you give budget and it's in excess of what they actually need, they will spend it. If they have the authority, they will spend it.
Oh.
And throughout the year, they'll request budget adjustments between line item accounts. And, one central person that's eyeballing all that knows all, no, it's here, there, and everywhere. So Janie's absolutely right. If we budget it, it will get expended one way or another. But we're trying to implement new controls with the March 31st spending, so some other items that are going to curtail that.
Good. Control spending.
We done with that?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
No, we got one more. We got
Not getting out that easy.
remember, I stuck up for you. No, not yet.
Ms. Rita's not gonna like
Not yet. Do we need to do anything on the public affairs department? Is everybody happy with the report that were handed out?
If you guys have any questions on here.
Ms. Conyers is ready and willing to answer you.
Well, she's been sitting there very patiently, and I'm going to give her an opportunity if she's got something to add or if anybody has any questions.
Mr. Chair, can I just give her real quick kudos? She's taken the ball and run with it. She's handling the business over there, and I really appreciate her efforts.
Yeah, I want to reiterate that. She's been a real pleasure to work with.
Okay, super.
Thank you.
Nice. Good news. We're getting a little good news today. Okay, you in the starting blocks, Rita?
I think okay, time to adjourn.
Public comments, Miss Rita, you're here. Nobody else here.
Very narrow, unstriped Chicago Cubs 2016 World Champions. Mailbox, Mark Road. I was going over the outstanding, I call them outstanding POs, you call them open POs. Has any of the money been spent out of these POs?
This is the balance that's left on those.
This is the balance that is left. I was going through looking for big numbers, and I found a big number. I found $830,867.34. And it's under capital outlay vehicles, 2024 battle motor LET 2-46 EIE. What is that?
What page is that?
I have no idea. There's no page numbers on it.
Those are the sanitation. Those are
They're orders, they're not here.
They're in order, but they haven't got.
Okay, what vehicle is this?
There's two or three
dump trucks.
They're side loaders.
Two side loaders.
Two side loaders, and we're getting them from Battle. Is that what Battle is?
Yes.
I thought I heard the director say that Autocar is a good company, and that's where we get our side loaders from.
We're making a shift now.
We're making a shift, okay. Also, does this figure here reflect what we were getting for old vehicles? I see that we have a couple of old side loaders here. Do we get, when Robert sells or we get a new side loader, does the salvage value of the old side loader come off of the price here? Or how do we tally we're getting? Or we just throw it in the landfill and cover it with dirt?
Yeah, and we saved that for the Cubs.
Oh,
okay, I'm sorry.
I think that's all right.
There will be no. There will be the chairman. I'm just asking, 830,000, whatever. I figured it's 415,433.67 for each one. Are we turning in old side loaders that are no longer, the hydraulics aren't working, whatever is the problem with them, engine problems? Oh, no, that's on a rear loader.
You're asking if we're trading them in?
If are we getting some money for the old ones?
They go to auction and whatever we get.
They go to the auction. So, but this is the price that we're gonna pay for two, over 415,000 for each one. So when Robert sells them at a premium price,
Pressure's on, Betty.
I'm wondering where it's reflected.
It would go back in, once we got paid, it would go back into the solid waste revenue. Yeah.
Okay, so we have this much money set out for two side loaders.
Yes.
Okay, now when Robert sells, are we selling one, two? What do we do? Are we selling all the ones that are really bad here? Or we're only selling side loaders to buy side loaders, or we're buying side loaders, we're selling side loaders? How do we?
You're trying to be too simplistic, I think.
Probably as soon as we get the new ones, we'll probably decommission maybe one of the others.
Okay, so we decommission them and then we give them to Robert. Robert sells them for whatever, hopefully like 50,000, 60 millions. Oh,
Millions.
I love that, Robert. And then it's reflected somewhere in our budget, correct?
In revenue.
That money goes into revenue.
In revenue.
Just that.
Okay,
For the
that
department.
That's
for that department.
Yes.
No other department, but they get the money in.
It's their item and they bought it, the revenue.
And
Purchase.
I heard you say
Then it should
something
be
about a
transferred.
memo that by 3/31, we're gonna do something with the outstanding POs. That's a lot of money. I mean, you could buy a lot of M&Ms for that money. I'm telling you.
I didn't think
You might be able to buy the cup.
Might even build a balanced budget in the new year off of that money.
Okay,
Buy the cup.
that's what I'm looking at. Because are we getting any interest on this money? No, there are POs out there. So we don't have the money in our bank to get interest on $24,913, whatever.
Those funds are not invested.
Those funds are not invested. So we're not getting anything
We're
from
tying up
that money.
$24 million worth of funds. We're tying up $24 million.
Yes.
Just in what's left.
And just because we got POs out, they get to spend the money even if they don't need them?
So Rita, I think,
The whole thing.
and what I'm trying to explain is we can't keep doing multi-year projects with a PO that anticipates a 3 or a 5-year project.
Right.
We need to do progress within the current fiscal year. So if we think we're going to make it 50% through that project, we only do a PO for 50% of that project. And then as they bill progress payments, we pay it off. And that way we don't have 20 million sitting out there at the end of the tying everything
That's
up.
what I'm after. Why do we have all this money sitting out there?
My understanding is this is the way we've always done it.
We're changing. Carry over from the old style. We're not doing that anymore.
We're not doing that anymore.
Is that like a mother tells the child because I said so?
No.
It is, but it doesn't work, does it?
Okay, I'm just. Whoa.
When you do,
$1 million.
when you make a contract, you have to have the monies obligated.
I just want you to remember that when we start the budget process and everybody is clamoring for their capital projects that are multi-year projects.
Right, so we're only going to do them for a fiscal year and then we could give them another one when the first one is gone.
They need to bring it into their budget for the next year. They need to anticipate and tell us and keep us on track.
Okay, and all this will be public record.
Oh, yeah. Everything's public record.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Obvious, we're gonna know. I can see exactly who you're gonna give the peanut brittle to, the way you were flattering with him. You know, I mean, he's gonna get the damn peanut brittle and I'm not gonna get anything. It's okay.
I'm just wondering, I can't grasp intelligent people putting out 24, almost $25 million with no interest on this money. No wonder we don't have raises for people.
Wow, and then you can move it between line item accounts throughout the year and nobody keeps up with all of that. And it works out pretty good for some folks.
It's been going on a while.
Okay, all right, I'm done. I'm confused like you wouldn't believe, but that's okay. That's okay. I'll be here for the budget meetings.
Mr. Casper, something I do want to flag for you guys ahead of time is, so was engineering, did we break up the PO? Was that the one we did earlier this week? Or?
For one of the projects?
Yeah, so a number of our vendors have gotten used to this PO system. So they are going to be like, so we actually had to do a contract for one of our POs to break it into 2 smaller ones between now and this year. So do expect to be hearing that from some of our vendors. We're just going to have to, our contracts are just going to have to look a little different.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if you do a PO for like a price agreement and the price agreement expires and you got to renew another one, now you're in trouble.
Yep.
So those got to be, you know.
Well, and with your background, you know that a governmental agency cannot commit money.
Absolutely.
Yeah, past a fiscal year.
So why are we doing it? Yeah.
Okay, we've got a couple of questions. Why is I don't understand this first one. Why is the go-to always options when no decision can be made? I don't understand the question.
I think they're missing how administration works. To the person out there, the governing body is always presented with options unless there's only one extremely clear choice by management because they are the governing body. It's just, as much as I wish I could be king for a day, it's much better to have the electeds do it.
Okay, second question says, maybe if the solid waste funds wouldn't be moved to use in other departments, they would have the funds necessary to take care of equipment. Now, I'll answer that question. Anybody else wants to chime in, they can. That's an old practice that has occurred. We're no longer following that practice. And we're stopping that stuff. They used $16 million in the last period of time, not only out of the trash folks, but the water folks, the airport folks. They were just putting money out of those enterprise funds into the general fund. It made it a big mess. Nobody could track it. We're not following that anymore. Anybody have anything else to add to that? Okay, how many studies is it going to make a decision? At some point, numbers are going to have to be trusted. Well, we're through two big studies, the water and the wastewater, subject to publication, et cetera, et cetera. We've still got some steps to go. And we're also looking at restricting the number of studies unless we're ready to move on a project. Because I think it's crazy to spend $100,000 on a study that collects dust on a shelf. That's just nuts. Some of the studies that have been done, like the study on the streets, we're actually making some progress on that study, using it as a template. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe we'll dig into that one deeper in the future. But that study is really the template that the engineering department's using to try to maintain. Anybody got anything else on that point? How about we ask the solid waste director what would work best for the department? Yeah. Well, he's been in lots of conversations about this for several months. And so his input has been received, since no one else seems to know. We got it. We're talking to him. We've been talking to him. I've spent many hours on the phone and in person with him in just the last couple of weeks. That doesn't count all the conversations we had before. So maybe Rita should, you answer that one, Rita.
I live in the county. I don't have to pay water bills.
You can pay mine.
Okay.
Yeah, we can fix that real quick.
Thank you. That's what we try to do. Sometimes you throw us a curveball, nobody in the room knows the answer, but we'll find it. Anything else from the public? We got lots of other people listening in. I don't see anybody with any more questions.
When is Atkinson gonna be done?
I don't know. That's that man sitting right behind.
I just curious.
June, July. Yeah, June, July. What about the bridge?
This far, late March or.
Okay, I was out there yesterday. It does.
We're making progress.
Do we have to take it out if we lose the lawsuit?
Okay, can't be fixed overnight. We can't fix all the stuff that happened in the past.
Will it become a paper?
This is a long-term, maybe 5-6 years. Hopefully some of them will clean up a lot before that. It's a long process and you gotta be very patient. As long as you're headed in the right direction, you just gotta go with it. Okay, anything else? Okay, we're adjourned.
So it's